What's up, everybody? This is Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Australian NBA podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers. My name's Adam. I'm your host, and I'm coming to you from sunny and beautiful Tasmania. If you've ever been to Tasmania, you know that sunny and beautiful isn't necessarily something that happens a lot, so I'm just taking advantage of it while I can. We're in different parts of the country at the moment. Justin, you're in super hot Adelaide. How's Adelaide?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys. I'm in Adelaide, so spending a bit of time with the family and watching some Pacer basketball, which was fantastic over the holiday break. And
they say to eat, drink, and be merry. I think, Alex, you've taken that pretty literally. You're in Melbourne still, but just woke up. So how you feeling, buddy?
Yeah, look, boys, Merry Christmas to all of Pacer Nation, obviously, but this one's going to be a struggle for me. These early episodes, for everyone that doesn't know me very well, these early episodes are absolutely killer for me. And by early, I mean about 10 a.m.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you're out of bed yet, but that's okay. I just don't want that visual. Our listeners can just think about that for a moment.
I'll leave that to myself.
Leave that to everyone's imagination. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all the listeners. It's been a huge week, obviously, for all of us, but particularly for the Pacers getting yet another one of those signature wins. And before I kick off today, massive shout to Eli Ratliff on Twitter, who was clamoring for this episode. We're sorry we couldn't bring it to you on your drive to work, but Alex had some beers to drink. So unfortunately, we couldn't quite get it done, but we've got this episode for you, and we hope that the next time you go to work, you listen to us on your drive. A signature win against the Raptors, guys, a pretty massive victory in overtime, missing our starting backcourt of Brogdon and Oladipo. What's not to love about that performance? Alex, you and I just continue to keep hammering Justin about his lack of Aaron Holiday love at the start of the season, and Aaron just keeps delivering for us.
You know what, Justin? I'm going to give you a bit of credit here. I'm going to say you pushed him to this. He was listening to this podcast. He goes, "This Justin bloke, he's giving me smack. I'm going to come back at him and start dropping 20 points a game." But Aaron Holiday's been fantastic, and I think he had only like 3 points in the first half or something, and he was playing in foul trouble. But this kid he's amazing. He just has no lack of confidence whatsoever, and he was hitting Serge Ibaka, giving him a slap on the ass after he made a three, and the confidence was oozing. And same with Miles Turner. So good to see him back hitting shots. 9 from 12 from the field, 5 from 6 from 3. So those two were playing a bit of back and forth in overtime, and it was an absolute joy to see. One of my favorite games of the season by far.
And Justin, Miles seems to have really found his place in the offense, particularly over the last week or two. It's been well publicized about the social media stuff. We had a whole episode about it. But he seems to have really found his role, and he spoke about a meeting that he and Nate McMillan had, where Nate sort of reassured him about what his role was and what the expectations were, and it seems like he's really come out of that a whole lot better as a player offensively, but also a better mindset.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's really good that Miles said he actually went to the coach and said essentially, he's not particularly happy with the looks he's getting on offense, and he feels like he can be utilized more in the offense. I think that's really professional from A, Turner, and then B, Nate McMillan. And look, a couple of games later, he's played terrific. He scored in double figures like 3 or 4 games in a row. He was 9 of 12 from the field against Toronto, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. Like, that's the Miles Turner we love. And it just, so good. Nate's, opened up the offense a bit more for him, and he's utilized it. And I guess at the Paceroos, we've always said that, Miles has always been great defensively, but we don't expect him to score 20 points every night because, that's not the looks he's going to get in offense. And Sabonis actually struggled against Toronto. He was 5 of 14, and Miles Turner stepped up. So that's essentially what we need. If one of our big men are firing, that's going to go a long way towards the victory. But definitely want to mention as well, I know I was very hard on Aaron Holiday. I could not be more impressed with him. He was our go-to player in that clutch, really. He obviously took some tough 3-pointers, which it was kind of a bit like a no yes for me. But he 19 points, 10 assists, and he looks like our go-to player in the clutch, to be honest.
Yeah, he's certainly got a lot of confidence. He's always had a lot of confidence, and I remember speaking very early on when he struggled about the fact that you've got to take the good with the bad when it comes to a streaky player and a player that plays with a lot of confidence. And you love to see them, after they have a struggle period or a cold spell, you love to see them keep shooting. You want to see that confidence continue to be portrayed. And if there's anyone that's done that on our team, it's Aaron Holiday. He's taken it all in his stride. He's found a place in the offense. He's defending extremely well. I think it's probably the best level of defense that I've seen out of him, given that he was going against mostly second units last season. And this year it's in a lot of games he's starting. So he's going against those top line players, and he's really getting it done. And Alex, it's what we love to see. It's the level of player that Larry Bird said was untradeable, which I know got to be in your bonnet, Justin, and it was probably massive overkill on Larry's part.
Yeah.
But this is the sort of player that Larry was talking about.
Yeah, he's becoming that player that, they talked about being untradeable. And, there was rumors that Mike Conley might have been traded for him, but I'm glad they stuck with Aaron. He's only 23 as well. And I think don't overlook that 10 assists as well. That last year, I think he had a little bit of tunnel vision. He was always only looking for his shot, which, sometimes that's not a bad thing, but when you're the point guard of the team or whatever he's playing at the time, maybe it's a two guard, but against the Raptors, it was the one. He's looking for other people. He's getting other people involved. He found Miles twice in overtime, and that's the second time he's had double-figure assists as well this season. He had one against the Nets earlier, so I think that's a massive growth for him. But I just want to give a quick shout out to TJ Warren as well, who he might have had the quietest 24, 8, and 6 game of all time. Tied his career high in assists, and he also had 2 blocks. So if TJ Warren doesn't have that good of a game, we don't win.
And a huge three-pointer.
Yeah, exactly. That fourth quarter
Great
shot was
pass from
absolutely
Aaron
massive.
Holiday. Yeah. He's become so much more reliable in the corners as well. I mean, the last couple of seasons, his last season with Phoenix and now this season with Indy. And it's been a while since we've had that consistent starter on the floor that can hit that corner three, that knows to go there, that's happy to go there and can reliably hit that shot. And I think at the start of the season, he did struggle from three-point land. We expressed some concerns about the fact that we weren't hitting as many threes as we had hoped as a side. But there's been a conscious effort over the last few games to take and make more threes. I mean, we attempted 42 threes, which I think is a franchise high against Toronto. And I know that Nate said that those were the shots that Toronto were giving Indiana. They didn't want Indiana to score inside. They were giving up the three-pointers. So Indy obliged. And we've always said that we've got some shooting talent on this team. We've got the ability to make some shots. However, we just haven't had the attempts. So the ability for us to be able to hit 18 of 42, I think just adds another string to our bow and shows that we can be versatile and we can change up our offense when intended. And Justin, I'd like to see more of it. I don't know about you, but I want to see us get around that 30 to 40 3-point attempts every game.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, if you hit, a possession or 2 possessions in a row where you hit threes, obviously, it doesn't take a mathematician to say that's 6 points. That's 3 successful 2-point possessions. So you're essentially taking out a whole another possession if you're hitting a 3, which Pacers aren't big on 3-point attempts. And sometimes it's hard. You might get on a quick run, but against a team like Houston, they can just go bang, bang, bang with threes, and then it takes, a team who are mostly scoring 2s a while to catch up. So it was great to see the attempts up. Obviously, there were some tough shots we maybe wouldn't usually hit, like Miles Turner 5 of 6 from 3. That's an outstanding shooting night from him. Like, I doubt we're going to get many more games where Miles Turner and Aaron Holiday hitting 10 threes together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see it happen more. But it was good to see the attempts up. It was funny. I think Jay Michael from the Indy Star said the start of the fourth quarter, they always run a Doug McDermott play for a 3. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, something to keep an eye on. Because I reckon the last few games, it's been like Doug McDermott makes a 3 to start the fourth quarter. So maybe we keep an eye on that against Miami.
And just, as you said, the ability to stretch the floor off the bench. I mean, you can look at just about every player down the roster, and the only player that doesn't consistently shoot threes is probably Domas alongside TJ McConnell. And even those guys are putting them up when they're open. So, there's not one player that can't launch a wide open 3 if given the opportunity to, which is really important given the way that basketball is played currently. I just want to go back, Justin, to a point you made about Domas struggling and Miles obviously having a good game. I mean, Domas struggled from the field, but he still had 17 rebounds. He still had 3 assists. He still had a block. I mean, he's still able to take advantage of his strengths. He's still able to give you the production that you want to see out of him on the boards. And we know that Miles isn't, an elite level rebounder. He boxes out hard. He gives opportunities for his teammates to rebound, but him personally, he won't get you those 17, 18 rebound games like Domas is capable of, but Domas won't get you the 3, 4, 5 block games that Miles is capable of. So I feel like the experiment at the moment is working really well. We can honestly say that they're playing a lot of minutes together, and whilst they are staggering a little bit towards the second and third quarters, we're seeing more and more the two of them on the floor at the same time where it matters, and it's led to us the ability for the Pacers to be able to present some different looks, and I'd say that at the moment it's been a success. So we've obviously had some signature wins against Boston, against Toronto, against Utah, and those guys have played significant roles in all of those victories. And I feel like when Vic comes back, it'll just get that little bit better. And Alex, we had some really good news from Woj on Christmas Day, Christmas Day Australia time, which was a really nice present for us.
That might have been the best Christmas present any Pacers fan received. But Oladipo planning a late January or early February return. And I think it was you, Justin, we were talking before the show, or maybe Adam, but there's a stretch there towards the end of Jan where we have a 3-game homestand. So I could really see him returning there, and then the All-Star break comes up in like a week and a half after that. So I couldn't see a more perfect time for him to return. And, he'll be on minutes restriction, but just to have him back on the floor and in a jersey again will be so good to see. We've been missing him a ton.
I think there's a really good stretch there with Chicago, New York, and Dallas. So
that's it.
Justin, I'd probably get your thoughts, but also where do you see the minutes coming from for Victor Oladipo? I think is a conversation worth having at this point.
I do not know. I'm not even going to act like I know. It's going to be tough for Nate McMillan. I feel bad for him in a way. It's a good problem to have. But, obviously, I don't know. Do you cut 5 minutes of Justin Holiday? Do you maybe cut Sumner out the rotation? I don't know. I'm just spitballing right now. Do you maybe lower TJ McConnell's minutes a touch? I'm just spitballing. At least Nate has the ability to do what he's always done, and that is go with who's hot. I think Oladipo is going to take a while to come back into things. So I maybe won't see him getting 30 to 40 minutes until maybe next season. So it might be a problem next year. But for now, he probably playoffs. Slowly integrate Victor back. But whether Jeremy Lamb gets cut a bit. But we've mentioned it a few episodes in a row. I'm going to give another shout out. Nate McMillan won us that Toronto game again. He went with the hot hand. He went with Aaron Holiday in the fourth and overtime. Not many. I know Malcolm Brogdon was out, but he just continues to go with a hot hand, and he's got to be recognised for that. He's getting national media attention now.
Coach of the year.
So we did on the Paceroos actually spring that early on a few weeks ago, and now the words come around that he's in the running.
Yeah, he's definitely been incredibly impressive since that 0-3 start when people were calling for his head. I mean, you cannot say anything bad about Nate McMillan's coaching right now. I think Jay Williams tweeted that he should be in consideration for Coach of the Year, and Jay's a really respected member of the NBA media fraternity. So, he's starting to get noticed. We had a really interesting a message from our good friend Eli via Greg Doyle around the Sports Center graphic that had who could catch the Bucks, and they were naming the Celtics, the Raptors, the Sixers, of course. No Indiana, never any Indiana. We're slept on again. We will continue to be slept on until the end of time. We're going to have to beat probably Philadelphia on New Year's Day before we start to get some national press. But it's fantastic to see such consistency, and I guess that just as we need to talk about the win, we probably need to touch on the loss. We got smoked by Milwaukee. It was a pretty significant loss. No one could stop Giannis, but I guess the solace that we can take in that is that no one in the league can stop Giannis right now. I mean, 18 points, 19 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, about as complete of a game as you could hope for from your superstar.
Which is an off night which is an off night for him as well, by the way.
Yeah. Usually he's got 30 points and 19 rebounds. Yeah. So, he and it was funny that a couple of former Pacers in George Hill and Wesley Matthews, who had a cameo on the team last year, hit 7 threes between them and were pivotal points of the offense. Guys, quickly touching on the loss, we won't go into it in too much depth because who can be bothered talking about a loss? But Alex, what did you see in the Milwaukee game?
You can bang on about the negatives, I guess, but I think you never like to take moral victories, obviously, but when you don't have your best player, a team like Milwaukee, you're not going to win many games, especially in their home. And I was just impressed with the fight. I mean, it was a 4-point game at halftime, I think, and then early in the fourth, we hit a couple of threes. We went on that run. Sumner hit one, McDermott, and we cut it to, I think, 9. So they went on that big run, and I was just impressed. That was that second unit leading us. Obviously, Milwaukee they went nuts after that, couldn't miss a shot, and I think we didn't really play that bad. I think the scoreboard probably doesn't do us justice. We just couldn't hit enough. We just couldn't hit open shots. I mean, we were getting looks against the Raptors like we were hitting, but so Milwaukee game it was an ugly one, especially that third quarter, which is hard to watch at times. But I wouldn't take too much out of it.
Justin, what did you see?
Yeah, a bit of not too much. I don't want to delve into it too much, like you said, Adam and Alex. But bit of a reality check. We're not at that premium tier yet. I mean, Milwaukee's, people could argue they're the best team in the league with the best player. So we're just, you got to be frank, we're not at that level yet. As you mentioned, Alex, always tough to beat a team like that without your best player. We don't want to harp on Oladipo being out too much, but to be quite frank, we're just not at Milwaukee's level yet. Could we maybe beat him in a 7-game series once Victor's healthy and up and running? Possibly. But right now we're not good enough to beat Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a pick your poison with Milwaukee and Philadelphia and Boston. Those teams. It's interesting that we probably don't match up quite as well on Milwaukee and Philadelphia as we do Boston. But I keep coming back to that New Year's Day or New Year's Eve America time game against Philadelphia, given that Philadelphia smoked Milwaukee on the Christmas Day game yesterday. It's such a test for us. I think, even without Vic, if we can go in there with a fully healthy team without Victor Oladipo, and given how well we played those Sixers at their own home venue and how well they've played at home this year, there's a real good chance for us to take a major scalp. That'd probably be the biggest victory of the season if we can get past them, bigger than Toronto and bigger than Boston and bigger than Lakers. So I keep coming back to that game, and it's pretty significant on the calendar, and I think the team would have circled it. But we've got two relatively one tough game, one game against a team that's struggling. Before that Philadelphia game, we've got at Miami tomorrow, at New Orleans the following day as the second half of a back-to-back. Miami's been a team that's been in the playoff mix since the season started. They've really impressed with particularly their kids, their rookies, with Kendrick Nunn, with Tyler Hero. What do you see as the key to beating Miami, Justin?
Yeah, well, they're probably the surprise packet of the year, aren't they? I didn't think they'd be doing so well. Like with Jimmy Butler and Bam's just been killing it. They're going to be a very tough beat. I think, their home record's ridiculous. So that's probably going to be another major test. If we can go out there and get a win in South Beach, that would be magnificent. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. A lot of energy in the building, so definitely excited for that. And, obviously next up with the Pelicans, you'd think, all right, pencil in that win. What I always harp on, there's no easy game in the NBA. Pelicans just went into Denver and beat them. So it's another tough matchup. And, on paper, Pelicans still have Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Drew Holiday, Josh Hart. So they've still got some good players there. So it's going to be a tough 2 games.
Brandon Ingram is just playing out of his mind right now. I mean, he tore Denver a new one yesterday, 7 threes. He was magnificent. So I think Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram are probably the keys for me in each game. I'm interested to see Bam Adebayo. I haven't had an opportunity to watch a lot of Miami, but he's received some very high praise and he's potentially all NBA right now. So interesting to see how Miami defend our 2 big men and who Bam gets and how he does on either Turner or Sabonis and how we react from that. So I'm excited to see that Miami game tomorrow, because I think it's a really good test for us against a team that, as you say, has been a real surprise packet. Alex, is there a game out of those two that you're looking forward to more, or that you're more concerned about?
Yeah, obviously that Heat one's going to be a huge test for us. I'm really looking forward to the Bam versus Miles matchup, actually, because they almost play similar roles a little bit, where they play that big that is more athletic than the other. I think Myers Leonard will get the role on Sabonis as he's a bit bigger. But, I mean, what do I know? I'm not a coach. Sorry, but, yeah, I think the Pelicans game, like Justin said, that's one of those trap games, and the Pacers talked about it with the Sacramento Kings. They did a great job there. But this one in New Orleans, so you've got to do a good job. That's a lot on TJ Warren. He's going to have to clamp up on Brandon Ingram, who, like you guys said, I mean, he's averaging 25, 26 points per game. I think he's a certified all-star, probably most improved player of the year, unfortunately for Brogdon. But, yeah, he's been fantastic. And I think the Heat they're very similar to the Pacers, where they do it by committee. So it's not always, one guy's not going to score 35 a night or something like Harden and Giannis. Butler's obviously their all-star, but, they've got Hero, Nunn. They've got Duncan Robinson. He's been outstanding this season. I can't believe it. Yeah, I'd never even heard of him before this season. And, he's out here dropping 30 points on 8 threes or something. So, yeah.
Spoelstra's a very good coach.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit. Same with Nate. So this is, they're two very good, well-coached teams. I think this could be a playoff preview. I'm going to put it out there. That could be a 4-5 playoff preview. So definitely excited for that one.
Yeah, it could definitely be a 4-5 or a 3-6 matchup by come the end of the season. That's a definite possibility. I think something that you touched on just before was around that trap game. And I found it really interesting that Nate actually came out and admitted that they'd discussed the Sacramento game as a trap game after the Lakers victory. And I think, it'll be interesting to see how we go against New Orleans, being a road game, being a second half of back-to-back, and being that we would have played a fellow Eastern Conference playoff game the night before. I expect the Pacers to get up for the Miami game, but I'm interested to see if how we go against New Orleans. So it should be a really interesting back-to-back, and I'm interested to see if Vic travels to both venues or stays in Miami, where he's done a lot of his rehab over the course of the last 12 months. I saw that I think he's in Miami at the moment with the team. So interested to see if he goes on this 2-game road trip and his involvement in that. He'd obviously be wearing a particular fanny pack for both games. I'm interested in what the theme will be for both of those. But I think we can set the table for 2-0 in this back to back. I think with the form that we've showed over the last couple of weeks, the victories that we've got. I mean, at the moment we're sitting on 5 out of our last 6 or 6 out of our last 7 games we've had a victory. So one of the hottest teams in the league right now. There's no reason that we shouldn't go into Miami and give them a really competitive game and walk away with a victory. And New Orleans is just the type of game that good teams have to win the second half of the back-to-back against a struggling team with one of the worst records in the league. So good opportunity. But I think we should probably touch on the Christmas Day games. The LA Derby yesterday was pretty hotly contested and really competitive. I know, Justin, you watched it with your brother, who's a massive Lakers fan. So what did you think of the Christmas Day games yesterday?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think nearly every underdog won, apart from the Boston Celtics. So it was really good for the NBA. To be honest, with that Lakers game, I think LeBron was hurt. He got that knee to the I think his groin early in the first quarter. He wasn't.
Beverly.
He Beverly obviously shut him down in that last play. Interesting they called that out on LeBron. Technically it was, but usually they'd say, Beverly blocked it Lakers ball. Very interesting. But my talking point, I actually wanted to bring this up all episode. And I want to get both your opinions on it. And I actually hate talking about him. I want to move on. I hate bringing up the past, but I have to mention Paul George saying Christmas Day game was the biggest game he's ever played pre-game. My opinion first, you've been a game away from the NBA Finals. You were in a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm over the Paul George drama. I hate talking about it, but man, this guy just spits out nonsense sometimes. How's a Christmas Day regular season game? That means nothing. The biggest game you've played in your career. And what do you guys think?
I'm just probably consistently disappointed with what I hear out of that person. I think there's a lot of revisionist history going on there. There's talk about trades to San Antonio. There's talk about bringing a championship to Indiana, and I think the nicest thing that I can say is to not say anymore.
Yeah. But what did you think, Alex?
Oh, I mean, it's just a joke, isn't it, really? I mean, he's played in the Game 7 of the East Conference Finals against LeBron James. I don't know how any game of his career has been bigger than that. I really don't. But, I mean, yeah, he sometimes I just wish he would say less. I think he gets sucked in by the media a lot, and they want certain answers out of him, and he gives them. He gives it to them every single time, and it's annoying because he keeps getting brought up that PG Oladipo trade. It happened years ago. But every time we play them, it gets brought up, and he just keeps talking about it. I wish it would just end, to be honest.
I just the narrative, like he's gone between, I'm a Clippers fan, I always wanted to play for the Clippers, and I always wanted to play for the Lakers. I'm a huge Kobe fan. Like, I want to play for Spurs. Like, I don't know. I don't think he's got his story straight. And it's funny, like you mentioned, guys, it just gets brought up every few months where we've all moved on from Paul George. We don't really care anymore, but there's just these little tablets. And I read the tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it, saying it's Paul George has confirmed this is the biggest game of his career, and I just cracked up laughing. Like, it was just hilarious. I was like, this dude's just on a different level.
Yeah, I think it's clearly that quite a few NBA players are of the opinion that the next challenge is always the biggest one. They tend to forget about the past pretty quickly and just focus on what's next. And I get that it's a professional athlete mindset. You can't really dwell on your past achievements or be too satisfied with your past achievements or really think about them too much. You've just got to think about the next goal, and you become pretty relentless in pursuit of that goal. So, look, benefit of the doubt, I'm going to be Mr. Nice Guy and just say that he's probably selectively forgotten about his previous achievements and his previous situations, just because he's so focused on bringing the Clippers a championship, which as well he should be. That's his job. That's his mission. But sometimes I think that it's better to say nothing at all and just leave it where it is. But really interesting to see the Clippers get the victory against, as you say, Justin, a pretty unhealthy LeBron James after that knee to the groin. Completely accidental, I'm sure, on Pat Bev's part. Pat Bev, a guy that I'd love to see in a Pacers uniform every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I think he'd be awesome.
When he was a free agent, he actually followed the Pacers on Twitter. And I think someone tweeted him, was like, "Oh, I would love to see you as a Pacer," and I can't remember. He was like, "Oh, I'd love that too," or something.
Yeah, there were a lot of rumors because we needed a point guard. So
yeah.
I wouldn't have been against it at all. Obviously, he signed a pretty big deal for the Clippers, and I probably would have been uncomfortable with the Pacers giving him the same amount of money. But just a guy with that relentless fight and hustle and effort. Like I've always appreciated those players like Pat Beverly and Marcus Smart and those guys, and those are the types of guys that I associate with Pacers basketball as well. So maybe one day, but right now the president's just doing what he does, and we don't need point guards anymore. We've got the president and Aaron Holiday and TJ McConnell. So it's obviously been an interesting week in NBA basketball. The other thing that I'll probably mention is All-Star voting has opened. So as I tweeted yesterday on the Paceroos account, vote early, vote often, vote Brogdon, vote Sabonis, and make sure that you vote for both, because you don't have to pick just one. You can vote for both players at the same time. You've just got to omit a couple of Eastern Conference players you would have otherwise chosen. So I've already voted twice for both players. Have you guys submitted any All-Star votes as yet?
I've done one, but I've got to do mine today. So I'll do that right as we're speaking. As we're closing off this episode, I'm going to vote for Brogdon and Sabonis right now.
I would love to see your votes, Alex, because I reckon when you do after mine.
They're all Pacers players. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
You bet your drinks in.
And Boban, put Boban in there for the West.
I saw a couple of guys vote for all the Pacers starters, and then the Western Conference just all bench players, which was an interesting point. But
I think they've taken away the social media voting this year, which is interesting. Because I think that's when the players, like stupid players, just get hammered on social media. So I think it's really good. Hey, if you want to submit a vote, you have to go online and spend a few minutes doing it, not just tweet out Yao Ming still and stuff like that.
Yao Ming, who made the All-Star team after being injured like 4 years in a row. It was interesting. I remember Zaza made the team that year, or was very close to making the team that year.
I swear they rig it where it's like, they release the votes and, Zaza Pachulia is first or second, and then they close voting off, and it's like those players never make it, because I think the NBA just look over it and they're just like, no, there's no way in hell they're letting this happen.
We are not bowing to a viral tweet craze.
That's
not happening. So it's been a massive week in the NBA. I think the Pacers have got a couple of huge games coming up, and ultimately we're looking for a couple of victories. But we will come to you again, I would say, after the back-to-back and prior to the Philadelphia game. I think there's a lot to talk about with that Philadelphia game, and it probably needs its own episode because, as we said, it's one that the Pacers will circle on their calendar. Alex, what have you got planned for ringing in the new year?
Well, I just voted for every Pacer possible, including Goga there. No, I'm just kidding, but just going to relax, enjoy some Pacers basketball. Got 3 great games, one on New Year's Day as well, so I'm sure that will be keeping me plenty busy and keeping up with the videos and designs as well. So going to keep myself busy. But what about you guys?
Justin, what do you got planned?
Kind of the same thing, just to do a basketball spin on it. Obviously just really appreciative of it's great following a good basketball team. Like, there were some down years a while ago where it's tough to tune into Pacer games. So, it's really appreciative, going in, being excited for the next game. I'm so excited for the Miami Heat game. So it's always good to, tune into your favorite team when they're enjoyable to watch, which is fantastic. And just want to give a shout out to you, Alex. You've been spitting some fire on social media with your uniform swaps and your videos. So keep that out, man. I know Pacer Nation loves it, and I definitely love the intel there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and it's probably a really good opportunity because the next episode we take will be just prior to that Philadelphia game. So you may not hear it until after the new year, but if that's the case, we want to thank you all for listening to the Paceroos Podcast in 2019. We're prepared for a massive 2020. We've got some things in the works. We've got some guests that have flagged they might like to come on the podcast, and we're pretty excited about what that could bring. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue to provide you content for the rest of the season across the All-Star break, through the playoffs, and into a Pacers championship. So we're going to keep going just as long as the team does. We really enjoy bringing this show to you, and we really enjoy all the feedback that we get and the interactions we get online. So please drop us a line, drop us a DM, send us a tweet, shoot us an Instagram comment. We read them all, we enjoy them all, and we really appreciate your continued support this year. And guys, it's been a pleasure doing the show with you in 2019.
Likewise, yeah. Obviously, to have 500 followers or over 500 followers, and what have we been doing this for? Like 19? This is the 19th episode, or?
Yeah.
So that's just absurd. The support's been incredible, and obviously massive thank you to the guests that have come on as well. To have JJ, Pat, Scott, and Mark all come on to just this little podcast, from the other side of the world, it really does mean a lot. So we appreciate them, appreciate everyone that's tuned in.
Yeah, Adam, obviously we look over the socials a bit, and the feedback has been amazing. We obviously get the amount of fans that slide into our DMs, like you mentioned, Adam. We love everyone. We talk about them between us three. Like it is amazing. And even on Instagram, I get comments. The amount of Australian Pacer fans that have contacted us, I'm literally blown away.
It's incredible.
Incredible. I've had people from my hometown in Adelaide be like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know you were from Adelaide. I've been a Pacer fan from Adelaide for 10 years, and that it's just blown my mind." So it's really incredible what a small podcast can do.
Yeah, I think heading into 2020, we've probably got to do something to assemble all the Australian Pacer fans, particularly as we get to 1 year to go before the All-Star game hits Indianapolis. I think we've got to have a little bit of a campaign and start to get some Pacers gear going around Australia.
Booking out a whole plane to go to Indiana for that All-Star weekend, I reckon.
You go, Moneybags. I'll just sit back and let you do that.
Oh boy! If Kevin Fritch is listening to this, you already know.
Just get us a plane, and we'll come over and we'll be a part of the All-Star weekend, Kev. We really appreciate it. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you once again. We'll speak to you just prior to the Philadelphia 76ers game on New Year's Eve, America time. And once again, you've been listening to the Paceroos Podcast.